doing? It's Paul from Magpie 24/7 with another episode of toonTALK, episode 40 already. And of course, over the summer, we go to every other week with regards to Ian. So Ian will be back next week hosting, along with another member of the Magpie 24/7 team, as we dissect, no doubt, lots of Newcastle United rumours, transfer speculation, stories. You never know, maybe something about the training ground, or the Knocks as it's now called. Yeah, lots to be able to be talking about coming up. And we are, it doesn't really feel like it, does it? But we are in the middle of a World Cup. How are you finding it? How are you finding the 2 o'clock kickoff? So, or the likes, obviously it was Scotland's turn, was it not, last night? England still yet to get involved in the tournament. Well, apart from sort of trying to chase down missed and lost property, England get into the World Cup. It's our turn against Croatia. A difficult assignment first up, but one I still expect us to win quite comfortably. Croatia are not the Croatia of old. I know they have a really, really good record, do they not, in tournament football, but I just can't see it. But I'll get to that in a little bit. Like I say, normal service. Ian back next week with another member of the Magpie 24/7 team to dissect more about the World Cup, transfer rumours and the likes. But I thought we'd go over some of the stuff that's been making the news over the last couple of days at Newcastle United, and then just touch on the World Cup a little bit. For me, World Cup, it's not really got going. You know, we've had controversial World Cups, haven't we not, over the last couple of instalments. The Qatar one, with everything that went on prior to the tournament and the strict rules and, you know, changing it from a summer event to a winter event. Then we had Russia before that. Yeah, someone actually decided to give Russia a bloody World Cup. Unbelievable. But obviously all of the baggage that comes with that. And then we have rumbled on to a North American World Cup this time around, and it's been, well, I don't really think it's got going. Like I say, a lot of controversy. It's very expensive. I do know someone who is actually going out very shortly, and it's a bit of a funny story, that one, but he is going out very shortly, and it is costing him an arm and a fucking leg. Basically, the price that he thought he'd be able to do a couple of England games for over there, it's about tripled in reality, and that's not factoring in food, and that's probably been a little bit generous on the transport. But I have been watching the games. I have been blown away. I think the quality hasn't screamed out to me, but that's probably got a lot to do about the weather and stuff like that. It's probably going to affect my performance today on this podcast, because I'm out here in the Magpie 24/7 office, the studio that we use for yours truly, and it's a garden room. It's very nice. It's nice and sunny, but yeah, it's tough going for yours truly. But I didn't want to let you down by missing any sort of episodes for toonTALK. But lots still going off at Newcastle United. Rumblings, even, you know, whilst Eddie Howe's away on holiday, the rest of the non-international players are jetting off all around the world. It's been great to see some of the pictures, the videos from far-flung corners of the planet. Absolutely and utterly fantastic. And I hope that they're putting the feet up, they're relaxing, and they're getting their mojo back for next season, because it is a massive season for Newcastle United. So yeah, lots of news as ever. Quite a few transfer rumours. I'll start with one I put up on the page today. Damien Duff. Damien Duff is back in the game. He's back in the Premier League. Don't worry. It is down at Brentford, but it'll certainly be interesting to see what sort of reaction he gets when he comes back, when Brentford visits St James's Park. And we'll know when they're going to visit St James's Park very shortly, because this Friday I'm going to cover it. I'll probably do a live for this one for the fixtures on Friday, so mark your cards for that one nice and early. But yeah, Damien Duff, assistant manager at Brentford. What gives them the qualifications to do that? I do not know. Some, you know, not Newcastle United fans will probably look at Jason Tyndall and maybe ask the same. But at the end of the day, the Duff one is a bit strange. You know, yes, Keith Andrews has had that relationship with him at the coaching setup over in Ireland, but you've got somebody who was in charge of medical, and then you've got Damien Duff, who, well, I've got my own personal opinions on him. He was one of the players up there with Michael Owen that when we went down, I sort of scapegoated quite a bit. It's not having the heart, not having the bottle, not having the spirit to put in performance, as we limply went down and were relegated back then when he was a player. So yeah, interesting to see what sort of reaction he gets when he comes back to St James's Park, because, you know, we've seen the likes of Dubravka come back, Callum Wilson come back, and absolutely get huge, chants off the fans, ovations off the fans, lots of love heading, their ways. They did it right. How will the reaction be for Damien Duff? Well, probably not quite as bad as what Alexander Isak will get next season, because that will be hell on earth. I'm still expecting to get Liverpool first game of the season, to be honest. Just a feeling we never get it easy, do we? So we're going to get it hard. I wouldn't be surprised if it was somebody like Liverpool first game of the season. Yeah, mark it on bingo card. That's my guess. We're going to get one of the top teams. It'll be a Manchester City. It'll be an Arsenal. It'll probably be a Liverpool. Maybe at home. It'll be good for the TV cameras. It won't be so good for Alexander Isak because, yeah, there's a lot of fans still pissed off with the way that he treated our football club, the way that he went on, and the way that he conducted business. We saw this summer with Anthony Gordon how it is done correctly, did we not? He went, he got his move, he wanted the move, he's got his move, we got the money, everything was handled correctly, nobody throwing, your toys out your pram, not like that, no sulking, no spitting your dummy out when you're on over 100 fucking grand a week, none of that sort of thing. So yeah, that's one of the things I'm actually looking forward to most next season. Seeing some new players and maybe a new formation, a bit more attacking football, and giving Alexander Isak absolutely fucking hell when he comes back to St James's Park. But yeah, back to Damien Duff. I don't think he'll get the greatest of responses, and I don't think he'll get much love at St James's Park. He picked up a pay packet. As soon as we got into trouble, yeah, he looked for the exit just as fast as he can. But Damien Duff, the new assistant manager at Brentford, and they are going to be one of the teams that we are competing against to try and claw our way up the Premier League. What do they finish? 9th or something? So we'll be clawing against them to be able to get up into the European positions next season. And speaking about former players going into management, well, that brings me on to Kieran Dyer. Kieran Dyer, who spent time at Ipswich and Chesterfield, is now the new manager of, I think it's Southend that he's turned up. Talking about, I want my players to play this, I want my players to play that. Yeah, I hope nobody gets the tit on if you ask them to play out of position, Kieran. I really do. I mean, look, wish them all the best and that sort of thing in the role. You want to see former players going into management. There needs to be more, a pool of managers about, so that, owners and club chairmen aren't just looking abroad for every single managerial appointment. It did shock me, this one, to be honest. Southend obviously want to get promoted back. They want to do some business. They want to play some good football. And a lot of people have been saying a lot of complimentary things from what I've read about Kieran Dyer. So perhaps that one could work. And he could, provide the spark that they've been missing. Obviously, they got to Wembley, didn't they, previously under the previous manager. Haven't done quite enough. They are looking to get back on their feet and looking to get back into the Football League. So Kieran Dyer, manager, Damien Duff, assistant manager. Well, let's now get to the current manager of Newcastle United, Eddie Howe, who got his way, and he wanted signings, did he not, nice and early. And the club and Ross Wilson, no, Ross Wilson's ain't taking any days off. This isn't the Mitchell days, is it? No jokes about me, please. It really is. I've had to say that comment once or twice. But yeah, he's not wasting any time, Ross Wilson. He's getting down to the nuts and bolts. The Chronicle have been talking about multiple plates spinning behind the scenes at Newcastle United. And this is what we need. We need our ducks in order, in a line, ready to go. No fucking about till the last day until we sign a 29-year-old for £55 fucking million. None of that sort of panic signing. We need to be proactive, most definitely this time around. And we've certainly been looking towards the younger end of the playing sort of squad and signings, and we certainly have been looking towards getting business done early in Ewin Jowin, and I hope I am pronouncing that correctly, because I think I pronounce it differently in every single fucking video that I've done, to be honest, and I'm terrible with names and stuff like that, to be honest. So that's what I'm going to offer. Ewin Jowin, I believe. I've seen the video as well. I've listened to it 100 times. I still can't get it right. So, que sera and all that sort of thing. But yes, a great signing, 6'6". You can't teach that and all that sort of good stuff. French international, youth ages and stuff like that. He's worked all his way up. Glowing recommendations from the likes of Alan St. Maximin. Lovely touch with the video. Demba Ba as well. Demba Ba was involved in a club where, you know, Ewin Jowin was actually playing at. Again, spoke very glowingly of him. I thought he come across really well on his introduction video. He spoke really, really good English. That obviously helps. Way better than my French anyway. But I did get a C actually in the GCSE French, and I was hopeless at it. So there's hope for anybody. Anybody doing your GCSEs out there, keep at it. I know it's hard graft. It'll be worth it in the end. Worth it in the end. But yes, he comes in. He comes in as number 2. I've seen some people say, chuck him in first try. Look, I'm as eager as you to replace Nick Pope, really, because I think if it wasn't for Nick Pope's errors last season, despite the fact of the limitations that we had elsewhere in the squad and the problems, I think with the amount of points that we've chucked away through goalkeeping errors, through walkabouts, through dropping the ball in, through parrying it into the feet of other, you know, oncoming attackers, I think we make Europe. I really do. I honestly think that his performances cost us a place in Europe last season. The bloke switches off. I've said I think he's got crisp packets for hands. This is not, in a way, look, it sounds like I'm knocking him, but I'm not, because he's been a great servant for us. We've had some howlers. We've had some poor goalkeepers. I just think the injury that he's had, and he's come back, he hasn't come back the same player. So he's been a good servant for Newcastle United, but it's time to move on. And I was hoping this week with, you know, Ewin Jowin announced, I probably said it differently there again. I was hoping that Nick Pope would be moving on very, very quickly. Talk about Ipswich. Obviously, Ipswich then changed the manager. That literally puts a spanner in the works. Thank you, Tractor Boys. It's getting me hopes up there. It still might happen, that one, you know. Still, I've got a feeling it still may happen. It's his childhood team and all that sort of thing. But looking at it, there's also Leeds who are interested, and I can see why. You know, he's a limited goalkeeper in that, you know, he's not a modern style goalkeeper. Ewin Jowin is by all accounts. But he'd certainly do a job for Leeds, I think, and a couple of £1 million, I think that's pretty much a bargain, in all honesty. So let me know down below what you think about that in the comment section about Nick Pope. Would you keep him, or does further work needed to be done? Ewin Jowin has come in and been promised the number 2 jersey. He's going to be promised minutes as well, from what the Geordie journals were saying. They are adamant that he will get minutes. A bit like, I suppose, what Ramsdale had this season. He's had a little bit of action in the league, the cup games. He's played a bit in Europe. Obviously, we're not going to be in Europe next season. I know Sunderland supporters are very, very happy about that. Look, it's one season that we're out. We've been in Europe many, many, many seasons. Enjoy your one campaign. Yeah, search what Ipswich did when they got into it. But getting back onto the main point of it, I think Ewin Jowin will come in, he'll play the cup games, he'll be integrated slowly, and it'll be a player that, look, if we sign 2 young goalkeepers, which I'm going to get to, I think one of them may go on and be sold on for a profit, or you could be that your number 1 comes in, whether that's James Trafford, we'll get to in a minute, a couple of years, our number 1 gets bought by a elite club, and then the number 2, Ewin Jowin, comes into our number 1. That could happen. I think there's a lot of transition planning, there's a lot of future and forward thinking going on at the moment. Hence why there's 100 adverts up for scouts in every bloody nation of the world. You know, we've got a scout over in Brazil, Netherlands, over in France, in Spain, in Portugal. We're employing somebody to work in Germany. You know, you name it, everywhere where we need to be, up in Scandinavia. We have got scouts now, or we are advertising for scouts. And there is a reason for that. We are focusing very much on the future, and trying to get, you know, not copy Brighton, but the Newcastle United version of what Brighton do, the Newcastle United version of what Brentford do, having that conveyor belt system going where if somebody goes, you bring somebody else quickly in, and the machine and the mechanics of the system keep working in the same way, and that's the way that I see it working for us. I think if Nick Pope stays and he's got 1 more year left on his contract, I think he drops to 3rd choice behind who will be our new number 1, which I think is going to be most likely James Trafford. Ewin Jowin will be our 2nd keeper, our cup goalkeeper as well, I think, for the season coming up. And that's an important role, because I think we should be targeting the cups. No European distractions. There's no reason why we can't have a good run at one of the cup competitions, certainly. Maybe, look, League Cup again. I'd absolutely love anybody who says, oh, we've already won that one, blah blah. Don't ever turn your nose up with cups and out like that. We waited so long that every opportunity, honestly, I would grasp. So Ewin Jowin could be the starting keeper in the cup competitions, and then Eddie Howe, James Trafford. It's like, yeah, I honestly think this is the name that Eddie Howe has continuously kept beating the drum for. You know, where the club is looking at data and scouting reports and looking for unearthed gems. I think he's been really persistent on James Trafford. Now, what has come out this week is that James Trafford wants the move to Newcastle United. Some people have said he wants to wait till after the World Cup. I don't think in this day and age it actually matters too much. All the deals sorted out with the contract. It's a few telephone calls and the medical can be done within a matter of no time over there in the States or wherever they're based at. And that can be done and sorted really, really quickly. But James Trafford, I'm believed from what's being put out from multiple people, not just the one, that it's a move that he wants to make. And it makes sense, apart from the fact that he's going to have to take a pay cut. If we'd have signed him from Burnley, it would have been a pay increase. But the fact he's coming from Manchester City's first choice, at the time he was offered first choice money to come to Newcastle United, is going to be a come down with regards to wages, because there's no way that he's on less than probably £200,000 a week. There's no way we're going to pay more than what Bruno's getting for a goalkeeper. I know we've made savings, we've let keepers go, we've let players go. I think there was rumours that Ramsdale was on £100,000 a week, but there's no way we pay £200,000 a week, even with your Trippier wages off the bill, even with your Kraft wages off the bill. It just doesn't happen at all. So I think Trafford will realise he's got to take a pay cut. I think it's more a case of he knows he'll go somewhere and he'll be the guaranteed regular number one. And with regards to his international career, look, he's over there with England at the moment as number 2 to Pickford. And all that. He knows that Pickford's still probably got another couple of years, but he needs to be playing, week in, week out, game in, game out in the Premier League as a number one, so that when Pickford, when his powers do start to fall away, when he is getting a little bit older, that James Trafford is the next cab off the rank, and he will be the England number one. And look, £40 million now is the fee that's getting quoted. And this, to me, the blame for all of this lands directly at the feet of a certain Paul Mitchell, because last year we had the chance to buy him. A fee was agreed. Bear with me. This is, again, from all of the reading that I've done from the different journalists and what agrees and what overlaps and what looks to be the gospel is this. A fee was agreed with Burnley for £27 million. Mitchell thought he'd be fucking clever bollocks by offering 22 after a delay. Burnley were infuriated by said, undercutting. Said, no way, we agree 27, you pay £27 million and you take him, or you don't, and you can jog on. Conversations happening back and forward. Now, on the last possible day that Manchester City had this clause on Trafford to activate it, they activated it. And they said, look, at £27 million, we've either got a first team regular starter, which is what they wanted him for originally, because they didn't know they could get Donnarumma, or we'll sell him for a profit. And guess what? They're going to sell him for a profit. Look, it hasn't worked out as the first choice goalkeeper. A lot of people will say Nick Pope light, and I see what you mean, but I think he's more of a modern type goalkeeper. I think he has a higher ceiling. I think he needs to feel the love. I think he needs to sort of be that number one, and I think we will see a better keeper. But Manchester City will make a tidy £13 million profit, and that is the situation where with our conveyor belt and with these transfers and the like, we have to get to that situation on. So, look, some people are saying, why bring in 2 young goalkeepers? Well, if we can agree a deal with Man City at £40 million, thanks, Mitchell. If we can bring, some sort of package together, and it won't be a loan, because Man City aren't, how they benefit from a loan, they don't. So we'll have to stump up some serious cash. If we can get James Trafford in, he comes in as number 1. Ewin Jowin comes in as our number 2 and goalkeeper for the cup games. And then, after a couple of years, you've got Jowin maybe playing European games, and eventually, when we qualify, which I think we will, and the cup games, you've got Trafford as your league goalkeeper. And then I think after a couple of years, potentially one, if not both of them, can move on, and you bring the next ones in, or you promote your number 2 to number 1 after your number 1 goes. It's all about plate spinning. It's all about, future-proofing the squad. And I think that is what they are trying to do. They realise this season, between Ramsdale and Pope, it has cost us so many points. Pope is hideous at kicking, distribution, balls played from the defence back to the keeper. I think you notice when Pope's playing, the defence just drops that little bit. I think you want somebody who can get further up, be a bit of a sweeper keeper, and can get us playing a little bit higher up, who's got good distribution, can ping a ball a bit like Fabian Schär can do on the diagonals and stuff, who's comfortable playing football with his feet. That isn't Nick Pope. Nick Pope is a good shot stopper, or he was a good shot stopper. I think he's weighing on that a little bit. Ramsdale wasn't fantastic with shot stopping. He used to let quite a few through, but he would do the odd spectacular save. I think as we saw against Manchester United, for example, a great save to deny a certain goal there. But again, Ramsdale much better with his feet. If you could combine the two, you'd probably have an half-decent goalkeeper, but you can't. Ramsdale's gone back to Southampton. Pope, I think, will end up being our third choice keeper this time around. And for me, from that third position, I think he doesn't see the summer out at Newcastle United. I think he goes to Leeds, he goes to Ipswich, he goes somewhere else, because I think at his age, he needs to be playing week in and week out. And as much as Eddie loves him, and oh my fucking Lord, Eddie loves him, I don't see a long-term future for Nick Pope at Newcastle United. Let me know down below what you see it as, how you see it going. Who would be your number one keeper? If you had a target, I know that we've had Rissa, haven't we, that's been linked to Newcastle United, and Zabruggen, who I wasn't that impressed with, to be honest. Let me know about him as well. Look, when we played them, obviously, he gifted us the first goal, did he not? I'm not blown away, to be honest. And I also think Brighton are great sellers. I mean, they're on about, how much is 70 million quid for that Van Heck? I don't like him either. I thought he was shite. Yet Spurs want him, I think, for 70 million quid. Are you fucking kidding me? God, honestly, if they make anywhere near £70 million for him, and potentially even, 40-50 million pound for Zabruggen, it's fucking bravo business. But I wouldn't be anywhere fucking near it, to be honest. Let me know down below what you think of those two in the comments down below. So yeah, the goalkeeper situation, it's fluid. I think there's various different scenarios. If we can get somebody interested in Nick Pope, if we can't, we have lost goalkeepers. Obviously, Ruddy's gone out. I know, catalogue model extraordinaire. Gillespie signed up for a new one-year deal, hasn't he? But I think the next stage for the goalkeepers will come around what's happening with Nick Pope. I think Nick Pope goes, and I think we bring in somebody, and I think that somebody's going to be James Trafford, in all honesty. I think he'll be the new number one. But let me know down below. Talking about transfer rumours, and like I say, I've touched upon this in the comments with certain people. Oh, what you doing putting this up? We put everything up. We also put who has said stuff so that you can make an informed decision. Because there's some things that I would believe of some people and wouldn't believe of others, and other people judge things differently from different journalists or different sources or whatever. So we, on every single story, will put who has said it and what's been said. And on transfers in, the Magpie meter is our honest opinions on what it's going to be with regards to the age, the likelihood of the transfer getting done, and so on. So on a scale of 1 to 5, the Magpie meter rates the rumours. Our opinions on the rumours. A lot of them will be 1s and 2s and the odd 3s and 4s that goes up, and more serious journalists start talking about stuff. But yes, it's all up to you. It's there as a tool, as for knowledge, and to cover everything about Newcastle United, so that Magpie 24/7 can be your one-stop shop for everything, football related, transfer related, Newcastle United related. So yeah, don't shoot the messenger if there's some stuff that's getting put out. I don't agree with this next one, but this is what I wanted to highlight as an absolute daft one. Because the people with a straight face on about a swap. Now, this comes from Court Offside, so straight away, that tells you something, does it not? So if I was on Magpie meter, on this one, it would be 1, because 1's the lowest that I can give, because it doesn't make any sort of sense at all. A swap for Liam Delap and Nick Woltemade has been suggested. They reckon that the conversation is happening around that. And they aren't the only ones, because I've seen it here and there elsewhere, to be honest. But their report stuck out because they were trying to pass it off as, talks have been ongoing for a while. There's not a chance in cat and L's that this is getting done. Liam Delap turned us down once. and now we're on about giving him another opportunity. Look, I wasn't overly impressed when he was at Ipswich before, to be honest, because I don't know, like comparing Ipswich and Newcastle United is like comparing Barney the dinosaur and a T-Rex. They're both dinosaurs, but that's where it sort of stops, you know. I think when the weight and pressure of the shirt has increased and the responsibilities have turned up a notch on the pressure cooker, we've seen a different side of Liam Delap, and he's struggled, and then he's had his injury issues, and then he hasn't got game time, then he slipped down the pecking order, and then when he's played, he couldn't hit the side of a barn door. Meanwhile, Nick Woltemade has come in, played as a striker, immediately started scoring goals, and it's only as Eddie Howe's dropped him into the attacking midfielder role and then the midfield role that his goals have sort of dried up, and he's done a job for the team in circumstances where there's been no other players kicking about. That's why his goals have dried up. When you get him into the attacking third, into the box, he by and large scores goals. 11 goals in his first season isn't a bad total anyway. You know, if you add in the penalties that Gordon scored last year, which you could do next season because obviously Gordon isn't going to be here to be able to take them, then, you know, easily he's above 20 goals for the season, and people are, oh, he's great. They're probably linking him to Bayern Munich every other day. You know, I don't see how we benefit from a Liam Delap, Nick Woltemade swap. I mean, Delap maybe more as a focal point. Nick Woltemade, you have to change the tactical setup a little bit, but I think Eddie Howe's learned a lot about Woltemade over the first year. I think he's got better. I think he's got quicker. I think he's got tougher. He'll have got more streetwise, and I think we will see the best of Nick Woltemade next season. And he already did pretty well this season. The talent is there. The ceiling height, even though he's a tall bloke, is still mightily high. So I would say give him another opportunity. £69 million you've invested in him. You've got Visser there as well. To me, if I was going to sell one, I would sell Visser, but only if I had above 25, 30 million pound, because the PSR and the squad cost ratio and all that sort of thing, it will take a hit by selling Visser so soon. So we have to be careful about that. I can perhaps see a situation where Visser goes out on loan and we bring somebody else in on loan. Perhaps that I could see. Because I think next season, and I got a few pelters on my vertical view that I did on this, but next season I can see a situation where we sign Muniz, he gets through, he does his medical, he passes it whilst he's over with Spain, which is where he is at the moment. People ask him why there's a delay. He's away with Spain in North America. It is difficult to arrange everything. He supposedly agreed to everything else. Again, according to journalists X, Y and Z, everybody around, consensus, there seems to be that there's a bid that's been accepted there. Real Madrid are happy to play a ball about it as well. I think that, you know, Muniz will come in. He'll pass his medical sooner rather than later. I'm expecting to hear something over the next week, to be honest. But if we get Muniz in on one side, and then you're going to have Asula leading the line, I think, as the main centre forward, and he got 7 goals towards the end of the season. It isn't a bad return. I think he had 21 starts or something like that, so a 1 in 3. As for a player who's getting better all the time, he's got lots of pace, energy, commitment, desire, a lot of major ticks. Yes, he's got some major question marks still. I totally get that. I was critical of him last season, but I think Eddie Howe is going to give him more of a role next year, and to have you know, him up top, Asula. Then you're going to have Muniz on the left-hand side. All of that running pace, because Muniz is fucking quick. Say what else you want about him, but he is quick. And then on the other side, if you can get Elanga's head from up his arse and start playing like he was at Nottingham Forest, then there can be a major player there as well. And I know there's rumours about potential swap deal for unknown Nottingham Forest. But I just think forget about that for the moment. Park it out. It's fanciable and it's you know, it's this, that and the other. I think Elanga stays next season. I can't imagine, please Lord or not, I had to chuckle at myself when I saw the new shirts came out, and model them was a certain Jacob Murphy. I was like, oh no, do you know what this means? I think Eddie wants him to succeed, and I think he thinks if he succeeds, there's a great player there. And I think you could get to a situation where you had Elanga, Sula and Muniz, all of that running is going to scare defenders. And I stand by that. I then think you've got Woltemade to add into the mix. Do you play him as a 10? Do you play him up and alongside a Sula, perhaps? We saw a little bit of that towards the end of the season, but yeah, I wouldn't be getting rid of Woltemade. A swap for Liam Delap, no fucking way. Just ceiling heights alone before you get into everything else. I just don't think it makes sense in all honesty, to be honest. But I wouldn't do that. I would, and I think Eddie Howe is going to go with those three as our primary attackers next year. And I honestly think with the pace, if they get the shooting boots on and get the act together and Sula continues his progression as he's been doing, sky's the limit. It really, really is. And I have come close many times to saying, look, with Sula, sell him, take the 25 million, take the 40 million, take the offer from Germany, take the offer from Villa. But look, he's got his head down. He's put the work in. He's put the time in. You can't knock the lad. So brilliant from Sula. And I think Eddie Howe will reward him with game time next campaign. Well, thanks for that little hydration break there. It is water, nothing stronger, even though it's a Sunday. Yes, so with regards to next season, I honestly think that will be the way that we go. It'll be a little bit different. It'll be a little bit to the unknown. I think a lot of us would like another striker signed in. I think if we do sign a striker, it's going to be on loan. And I think that happens if Vissa comes out. One out, one in. That has been the message that has been consistently passed through. Through the likes of Daily Mail and the likes of Craig Hope. Everybody's been talking about the fact that it is a situation where it is going to be one out the door, one in. We've got rid of Gordon. We're going to be signing and attacking wide left midfielder with bags of pace, similar sort of profile, similar style of play. You've got a goalkeeper who's gone out, a number 2 goalkeeper in Ramsdale. We've brought a number 2 goalkeeper in, and it's going to be like that all through the system. All through the summer. Yes, being distracted by other people making noise. Hopefully you can't hear too much of it in the background. Inconsiderate neighbours and all that sort of thing. But yes, we'll get to the World Cup. I don't really want to put too much onto it because we'll have a better idea of how things are going on the next toonTALK, which will be next Monday at 5 o'clock. It's each and every week. Even if Ian's on every other week, I will make sure that a video is up there every Monday at 5 o'clock. Even if it's just yours truly, I might even go on a bit of a tour. Do some from some different locations where it's maybe a little bit cooler than what it is in here today, because I can't even put the air conditioning on because it is a noisy old thing and I don't think you'd be able to hear me over the top of it. But yes, the World Cup is going on. I sat through the opening ceremony. Now, these generally are not for me. I end up laughing, criticising, critiquing, taking the piss, whatever. It's the same with Britain's Got Talent every week. If the missus puts it on the kids, I'm like, oh my word, why are they getting so emotional over, whatever, a dog? I've seen a dog before. You've seen a dog before. Oh, it's another magic trick. Oh, it's another song. Oh, it's another this. Yeah, we've seen it all before, haven't we? Even when they were doing the drones and stuff like that, I was like, yeah, I've seen that. Salah have done that already several times for Champions League. So this is old hat to me, Chuffing hell. But yes, World Cup has got away. I watched the first game with interest. Mrs. grumbled throughout it, and to be fair, she had a point. I thought the first half of the game was pretty crap, to be honest. The stadium, absolutely perfect. Hasn't changed much, has it, over all these years? But the football on offer was pretty poor. South Africa, I didn't think that they put anywhere near a sort of performance up that they needed to. Obviously, the former host not too long ago. Mexico deserved winners in the end. Referee got card happy. There's a referee who, like a lot of the English referees, loves to get attention for himself, be the centre of attention. I didn't think he needed to go quite as absolutely batshit crazy in the first game as he did. Since then, there have been other games and other countries involved. Most noticeably, last night, a 1-1 draw for Bruno, who got an assist. But Brazil couldn't win. But they haven't lost, the first game. I think it's 92 years since they've lost the first game in a World Cup. Fucking mental stat that, like. It really has. And they are the sort of team who will get better. They will be more used to the conditions than over maybe the European ones. I still think somebody like France will win it. Your French, your Spanish. You can never sort of write off the likes of Argentina. But South American countries are definitely going to have an advantage. I've seen the American game. I was actually quite cheering away with the Canadians, to be honest. I was quite, they were plucky, they were going for it. Obviously, one of the members of the team is from Canada. So I was like, yeah, there is that as well. So we were in the group chat all talking about that. But, look, I thought they really could put a good performance on against a decent Bosnia side. And I think I was glad for them to get the reward at the end of the day. I'm recording this now before the Germany game as I'm looking over to make sure that, it definitely hasn't, because the TV is on in the other room and I can see that it's not on yet. So that we're okay. I'll be watching, fingers crossed, Nick Woltemade and Malik Chow are involved. And then later tonight, as I'm recording this will come out on the Monday. I'm recording this on the Sunday. But in the early hours of Monday morning, it's Sweden and Alanga getting their World Cup programme away. So again, fingers crossed for them. It's a little bit different. I probably want Germany to win more than what I want Sweden, but that's probably because of the whole Isaac thing. I'm quite bitter. I'm quite twisted like that. So, it's difficult for me to cheer for Sweden, even though they've got Newcastle United representation because of the foul taste that that certain striker had left in my mouth, the way that he handled business a year ago for Newcastle United. But England, yeah, we get going on Wednesday. I've actually got the Bunton right next to me to go and put it outside, and I think I'm going to do that after I finish this, cool down a little bit in the garden, get into the patriotic spirit. Look, I would always, and I've said it from being a kid right the way up, I would always much rather Newcastle United won the League Cup than England win the World Cup. That's just me. I know where my bread is buttered. However, it would be great for England to win it. Do I think they're going to win it? No. I predicted quarterfinals because I think the conditions are going to catch up with them sooner rather than later. I think in these conditions, I think the first decent team that you come up against, I think we may struggle. I hope I'm wrong. I know how much it would mean to a lot of people. I've got a lot of mates who are England mad. I love a tournament. I'm not into this tournament as much as I normally am. I must admit, I try to. It doesn't help that Lee Dixon commentates on games. And I think that probably ruined the Mexico game for me at first, because he was literally banging on. I was like, oh, shut the fuck up, Dixon. He's got to get his Arsenal comments in and stuff like that. Chatting shit. Not for me. Not for me. Some of the commentary isn't the best, is it, to be honest? It's not how it used to be. And sort of reminiscing back to my first major tournament. I mean, obviously Euro 96, I was madly into that. But the first proper World Cup, I would say, would be France 98. I think I watched every single game of that. I've watched quite a few of these. But obviously these days I've got a wife and kids as well. So if I was to watch every single one, I'd probably end up we're like a fucking black eye or something like that, so you've got to take everything into consideration. But yeah, England, we start on Wednesday. I think it's 8 o'clock kickoff against Croatia. That's the toughest game in the group. If you get a draw out of that game, it's still absolutely perfect. I think we beat the other two teams comfortably, to be honest. And yeah, there's a whole debate around whether some of these other teams should actually be in it or not. For me, no, it should be the creme de la creme, the best of the best, because I think it makes for games that aren't as good, the stadiums aren't as full, and the atmosphere lacks. And I think the atmosphere is pretty poor anyway. And it's not soccer, you daft bastards. It is football. Just so we correct that one, I've seen all that, the American supporters. God, honestly, if I had it, I'd pull it out, me, like, honestly. Some of the cringy shit, like. But yeah, England against Croatia. I'll be watching that one. I'm looking into possibly live streaming it whilst watching it, just for something different, to try it out, to see how it works, to see what the reaction is on the YouTube channel. We would like to get more people subscribing. If you already haven't, please do, because we do put a lot of work into it. We're trying to get vertical views up every single day. Obviously, if there's nothing major to talk about, then that makes it very, very difficult. But as long as there's news about Newcastle United, we will be back in there talking about it. It's generally me, but there are other members of the team, and yeah, perhaps others will be on as well, doing the views over the summer and stuff. And we have got a few special bits coming up very, very shortly. I'm sworn to secrecy. But yeah, it's worth it. Honestly, I'm not just saying it for the sales pitch. click subscribe, hit the bell. And we do have some other stuff coming up in the summer, which I hope you will agree that it's very much worth hitting that. It doesn't cost anything. It supports us and it means a lot, and it helps everything else grow. So thank you for that one. And I think I want to leave it there. Obviously, follow us on all of our social media channels. Normal service will be resumed next week. I'm going to go and watch this Germany game. I can't believe I'm sort of cheering the Germans on, to be honest. But with my Newcastle United hat on, I'll be hoping to see Nick Woltemade get on, score a goal. Malik Chowie ain't bad, is he? At the all set pieces and stuff like that. He's always worthwhile for a goal. And yeah, it'll be decent. It will be decent. So please follow. We'll watch everything else. There'll be vertical view videos coming up. The rumours, the news, the views, the opinions, all that sort of good stuff is constantly updated still on the Facebook page, on our Twitter page, on Instagram, on Threads, etc, 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 even on TikTok. I mean, I'm not going to do any of them silly dances on out, but we will put videos up on TikTok as well, talking about Newcastle United. So I'll leave it there, slightly shorter than normal, but that's the news I wanted to be able to talk about over the last couple of days and where we are at the moment, and I didn't want to let anybody down with regards to toonTALK every Monday, 5 o'clock on Magpies 24/7's YouTube page. Easy for me to say. I honestly, it's water. We had to have a hydration break. You know what it's like over the summer, the World Cup. Yeah, quarters rather than halves. Jesus wept. But yeah, all joking aside, thank you for watching the video. Give it a thumbs up. Get down below in the comments. Let me know with regards to Damien Duff, Kieran Dyer, Ewin Jowin. I hope I am pronouncing that so many right. James Trafford, would he be your number one? Should we go for somebody else? You know, maybe like the Brighton keeper, for an example. And then the whole situation, people talking about swapping Delap for Woltemade. Honestly, just tell me down below. It's an absolute and utter fucking laugh. It's some sort of Chelsea folk who just thought they'd just take the piss. Let me know that down below. And in the meantime, take care, keep it tuned, and I'll speak to you later.
Join us Monday for toonTALK, a Newcastle United podcast from Magpie 24/7.